Hello and welcome to the conversation. I'm Steffanie Rivers with TCB Drones Academy. Today, we're talking about workforce development. There are a number of companies that are going automation. They're using automation. They're looking more towards technology as a way to streamline their business. And of course, for the company and for the shareholders, that's good news because they are able to save money and save time. Who can't um, disagree with that? That's a good thing. But when it comes to their team members, their employees, the people who have helped them to get to this point, that means some of those employees and those team members are going to be left out of the equation. And that's because based on the skill set of those team members, they will have to be laid off, or at least there needs to be a reshuffling of how they are used for that business development. So that's what we're here to talk about today, workforce development, because some of those team members, let's be honest, the extent of their technology skills might end at the app on their smartphone. So here to talk to us today is Lanetta Smith. She is the CEO of Combat Boots to the Boardroom based in Savannah, Georgia. And what we're talking with her about today is what she's doing with her organization to help to train some of our military veterans who are coming out of the military and still want to be a part of a workforce. So welcome to the conversation, Ms. Lanetta Smith.
Oh, thank you for having me so much. I'm so glad to be here today. And I love how you set this up. It was so important. I'm just fresh off of a gala from a community college here in Savannah Technical Community College last night, where our economic development leader for the state was recognized. And he talked just what you spoke about right now. Everything you said, as well as we have Hyundai right here in our county, Brown County, and how there's a 60-minute piece about actual robots, and that's what they're getting ready to drop also into our well, our state as well. So technology is here to stay.
So what we're going to do, and I appreciate you reaching out to my company to
Yes.
learn how we could help you to train and develop the military veterans who are coming out of what most people consider to be a stable work environment, and going into a workforce that they might not be as prepared for. So let's talk about that. What originally, what is the focus of Combat Boots to the Boardroom, and what made you turn to workforce development as the next step for your clientele?
Well, I'll give you a little backstory, how it even started. I was a 20-year federal comptroller budget officer myself for the federal government, and I saw this coming a mile away because I had been participating in palming, which is like funding out over a 5-year time of funding, and I saw that technology was a rise, and I started to see that actual aerospace and actual aviation was number two for Georgia in manufacturing. And I said, wait a minute, technology is here to stay. And AI was trendsetting, and you could see it where the dollars were starting to trend. But we created this organization because my own husband struggled after 20 years being in the federal, as a soldier himself. He transitioned out. But the unique thing with us was I had already moved here a year before him and took the position to be a budget officer at a hospital, Fort Stewart, and he was still in San Antonio, Texas himself, transitioning out. So everything that he was taught that was geared to him there, it did not apply to our state here, Georgia, where we knew we were going to actually retire. So that set in a different type of struggle. So we created this organization, not knowing really what we wanted to do, but we didn't see what we knew needed to exist for the veteran population. And over the time, in the community, wrapping their arms around us, helped us shape this model that we have now called Prosper, and which is what we want everyone to do. But workforce development was key because we were seeing reductions in force, rifts all the time. And you can see that as it is aligning now from, if we look back 5 years ago, that was right in the pandemic. We were still in the pandemic, and you could see the cause and effects of those cuts in funding right now, no matter who is sitting in the current administration, White House, House of Representatives, or Senators. A lot of these decisions were made 5 years ago. So when you are aligned with funding and you can already see the writing on the wall, you need to be proactive instead of reactive.
And you know what? That's a good point you made, is that looking ahead, not looking at what's going on right now, but being able to look ahead, because and with the current educational system, sometimes, we are preparing students, the future leaders, the future workforce, for what's going on right now, not really looking 10 or 20 years ahead. And by the time they graduate, what they've been preparing for is past. And
Absolutely.
so that's right. So that's a good, I'm glad you brought that up. So when you reached out to TCB Drones Academy and asked us to bring to Savannah our drone skills workshop, I was surprised, and we worked it out. So we're going to talk more about what we're doing, but it's April 20th and 21st in Savannah,
Yes.
Georgia. We'll be
Yes.
bringing the drone pilot prep course to help your clients become Part 107 certified, to get them ready for that FAA exam, so they can use drones. As a certified drone pilot, you can make money by doing different things for different companies. We'll get more into that. But so far, what has been the attention, or are there a lot of people who have wanted to have reached out and are interested in being a part of what we're doing in April?
It has been, but the thing with this is it's unique, right? Because it's unique for the veterans, right? And because we are a veteran organization and military spouse, we'll do that cohort in August through October. But this one is for the veterans, and we've been getting a lot of attention from civilians as well as active duty members. But this one, this first round, is very unique because it's just for the veterans, because we raise resources for them, and this is at no cost to them, for them to come in to also to have a leg up, and which is why we cannot let anyone into this, because Prosper is for our veterans, and the only way into this program is the DD 214, and our civilian population does not have that. And we did that on purpose when we built this cohort, because knowing the struggles of military families, and most of the time you land in places that are not of your home of record, and you might not necessarily have those connections, those networking connections that people who have been accustomed to growing up in a certain area have. So we wanted to give them a leg up, not a handout, which is why this one is unique, and also why active duty people that are not within 180 days and have retirement orders in hand cannot necessarily participate. But we're going to keep this going. This is going to be a game changer, which is why when I saw your company, saw you, read up on everything you're doing, was a game changer in Texas, I knew that it was a partnership to be had. It wasn't a virtual partnership. They needed to meet you. They needed to meet your team. They needed for you to come to talk and tell your story, because part of this is entrepreneurship. And they need to see people who have broken through the barriers and have already done some of the things that they aspire to do. And I believe in partnership and collaboration at the highest level. And you already seen someone do it, give them their flowers, and then also have them come in and teach and train is something that they already do so well.
And speaking of team members, I will be in Savannah as the instructor, lead instructor, but I wanted to bring in some other of my team members, and one of them is going to join the conversation now. He's Russell Spears with IA aerial photography, and he is just one of the team members that TCB Drones Academy partners with for contracts, and in this case, for training, our workforce development training session. So, welcome to the conversation, Russell.
Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. Good to be here. Lanetta,
So,
it's great to see you as well, and all the great works that you're doing for veterans out there. I'm a disabled veteran myself, so this hits very close, and we want to provide every opportunity we can to veterans, and the opportunities that have been afforded to us, afforded to them as well.
And I thank you so much. I'm excited to meet your team, and um, you guys don't know, this is like a dream come true to our area to have you all here. I'm counting down the days, literally counting down the
Good,
days.
good.
So I want us to talk a little bit more about what it is that your clientele, what you see that they can get from being a
Yes.
part of this cohort, and what they can expect from us, as well as the results. Because as we've said a lot of times, and I'm sorry, my lighting is a little too much light. What we've said is a lot of times there are networking events where they meet people, they get business cards, they walk away with a number or an email, but oftentimes it doesn't go past that. What what do we expect? What can your clients expect when they walk away from this event, this cohort?
And I'm so glad that you talked about that, because we understand about the different inputs and outcomes that we want to have here. And I always tell people, what we want to have to walk away here is like have making sure that we have a placement rate, W-2s, actual contracts. We want to make sure that we follow up with them with retention from 6 to 12 or 18 months. Businesses started, revenue started. We want to make sure that we are able to track training hours, the practice exam partners that we will have with MOUs here. We want to see this came. I'm gonna tell you how this came about. We are partner. We have industry partners in multiple different industries, including Gulfstream, including our airport as well. So last year, when we took our veterans through, we call it, it's like an executive immersion behind the scenes, because I'm not a super fan, everyone who knows me, of a job fair, because I believe just like that is just cards switching, a lot of empty promises sometimes. And a lot of times people will tell me there are 300 people at a job fair, but no one can tell me the data after that. They cannot tell me
Right.
how many I had a position, how many were there 52 weeks later, what was the culture like there, because if you're talking about aiming for our veterans, you also have to know PTSD awareness. Their mental health comes to that. So there's a lot of data that comes behind that I don't usually hear after the actual initial job fair, the food trucks, the koozies, the candies that get you all there. So I started thinking, and I was like, you know what our actual workforce is really needing to move towards is skill first hiring, credential signaling, right? Which is exactly what Part 107 is, because we actually have a aviation instructor on our nonprofit council who works for UTI out of Smyrna, Georgia, who is so powered and fired up for this piece to happen, because then he can also start getting them tutored for the AMP, right? So we can continue to add on after this, all right? But first steps was this, and two, we have a partner, and they're so excited for me to tell their story. They have two $50,000 drones. This is the sheriff department of Liberty County. No
Mhm.
pilots, no
Hmm.
pilots,
Well,
right?
we do have a solution for that. So let's talk.
Okay, yeah, yeah. We're gonna have an amazing solution. So that's one of the things they're like, Lynnetta, when they saw me post the template that we made, put your face on there, and they kind of knew that I was trying to work this out behind the scenes. We
Mm.
need this, right? We need this. We have Gulfstream right in our backyard. We have a way for a workforce development. We also are partnered with our ports, right? So that's maritime industries there. We have agriculture, which is then we tap them to agribiz, which is one of our second day where we can fly the drones because of the airspace there doesn't have as many as the restrictions as they do within the city limits and things like that. And so there are so many ways. We have a corporate sponsorship with State Farm out of Atlanta, and I've told them about it, and they're like, Lanetta, when it's natural disasters, what happens in our state, they use drone piloting as part of that. So there's so many. We can tap into real estate there. So I have shared with our leadership within United Way, because our organization is a United Way community investment partner. I've shared
Mhm.
with them 10 different jobs, just at least career high growth and career pathways, where there are positions ready lined up for the vets that a lot of people aren't even thinking about tapping into. And it's a lot of it, even when we talk about roofing and infrastructure, like we talked about the agriculture survey drone operators, we can tap into GIS because one of our other partners is an engineering firm. We have the
Mm.
partnerships already, right? And two, but it was like now we needed to add the credentialing piece. And so we were like, why not start it here with TCB, who has been breaking game changing things already in Texas, and bring them
Yeah.
here so that way too we can do the same thing here in Georgia. I told you we don't need to duplicate efforts, but we can do a piece here in Georgia. You can do a piece there in Texas, and we could collaborate because it is not done. So for you guys to put this in our organization and help us partner this, we are the only nonprofit now in the state of Georgia that is offering this credentialing piece, and that is because of this partnership right here today. So I'm thankful for this, and I'm gonna get certified too.
All
So me
right.
and my
That's
husband,
awesome.
yes, we both are gonna get certified. Listen, he might get it quicker than me because I'm in my master's. I'm getting ready to graduate in May with my master's
Congratulations.
in with my MPA in nonprofit studies as well. So I'm always passionate about learning and education, and you can always learn something from somebody.
Oh, most definitely. I think that a lot of things you talked about, the insurance industry, especially in Georgia, and all the areas that you touched on, I think are really a great opportunity for um, military members that are transitioning out into civilian life to be able to have a credential that they would be able to immediately implement and start making cash money
Yes.
is really a game changer. I know when I separated way back when, I won't date myself, but I had to start from the ground up. And a lot of things in that transition are very different because you're going from a a system in the service to herding cats when you get out. And there is a huge disconnect for the service member because there's no written rules, there's no system. So you have to apply your own. And oftentimes, as a separating service member, we've participated in a system for such a long time that there's a particular skill set in setting up a system for yourself personally. And so
Yes.
having the infrastructure that you and Steffanie have put in place and that we're participating in really helps to codify what a service member can really plug into. And I think that's really the place where things change, where it provides a service member an outlet and somebody that they can look towards and attach themselves to, and know that there's hands out there that can help and say, hey, you don't have to go at this on your own and by yourself. We have a certification program. We have a pipeline for opportunities and a system that we can plug you into so that you don't go completely without some guidance and some understanding, because we're all professionals coming in the military. And when we come out, we're still professionals. We just now have to change our perspective in order to meet the civilian application so we can be just as successful or more successful.
I am so excited. I have a veteran that has a whole photography piece who's so
Mm-hmm.
excited, who signed up for this cohort. So I'm so glad. I didn't even know that your team was part of this. So to be able to take that back, oh, he's going to be, oh, I'm so excited. He's going to be so fired up because for him already to know the opportunity is there, right?
Right.
It's another thing, but also, like you said, to have access to it is a different
Yes.
thing. It's a different thing to have it, which is why for me to still have that comptroller budget hat on, I'm
Mm-hmm.
always legal proper document LPD, but I'm safeguarding the funds, which is why I'm very particular who's going to get into this cohort, and I'm not looking at numbers for this first round, right? They know I have
Mhm.
my head, right, but it is also it's intentional for this first round to be it's not about big numbers. We don't want that, right? Because we're trying to talk about people's life and impact. Because boots on the ground, they will start to sell this for us when their
Right.
lives are changed and their
Mhm.
families' lives are changed. And I think sometimes people go after the big numbers and they fall flat because they don't see the impact.
I think another part of what you're looking at is you're looking to acquire and gather as much data as possible so you can see what's working, what doesn't work, and then start making the tweaks and the changes so that you can engage much more succinctly, more directly, so that you can achieve a better impact for the target audience, and that's the service member. I want to give a shout out to my principal, which is Ronald Jarman. He's also a certified aviation trainer. He trains pilots.
Mm,
Um, and he's also a commercial pilot. So he's flying today, and he wasn't able to join us. But his sole focus has been on how do we engage and provide opportunities to service members. Um, and then in doing that, how do we support ourselves as previous service members so that we can continue in this new field where there are still very high barriers for entry. You've got to get your 107 license. But with Steffanie coming on board and we supporting her in the training aspect, it starts to lower that bar to a level where people can say, I can get there from here.
mhm.
Because I'm working with and I'm seeing people who look just like me, because I'm in the process of getting my 107 license as well. Um, and so it is just a great opportunity for a untapped market for growth, experience, and just opportunity, especially for the service member, because there's a lot of things that are very similar. There's map reading, there's business
Yes.
development, there is the mentorship, there is leadership. So you have to be a motivated self-starter to be able to one get through the certification so that you can have the ability to fly that $50,000 drone, and
Yes.
then be able to interface with the public, have your team that supports you, uh, and then grow your business because you are entrepreneurial and you have the trimmings and the trappings of your own business. You are your own boss when you are behind the controller doing your work. And so this is, I think, a really great opportunity, a great segue into civilian life for those who do not shriek from the challenge of what is being presented. And especially with people like yourself and with Steffanie who are laying it out there, providing the training for free with a DD Form 214, and with Steffanie providing the integral training that's required and necessary in order for you to get all of the prerequisite information so that you can pass it the first time. I think this
Yes.
is a tremendous opportunity. I know I wanted to we at IA Aerial were able to secure a large contract with a major entity here in Florida. And so we're going to be actively looking for additional pilots to be able to come and support us as well. And we are based in the southeastern region. And so there's a good number of opportunities both in construction, road construction, housing, doing roof estimates, insurance, disaster relief and recovery, search and rescue, and the list goes on and on. The applications that remote pilots in charge, RPICs, have the availability to be able to plug themselves into in order to see a place where your enjoyment, being out in the wide open spaces and being in command and control of high precision equipment with uh, photographic capability to do a myriad of different things that we hadn't even thought were possible even 5 years ago. So it's a great opportunity.
And you know what? I want to add that in addition to that, some people, they question whether or not they need a prep course to pass the Part 107 exam. And I would say the reason it is important to prepare for it is because the Part 107 exam is, let's say, 10%, 15% drone specific, and 85%, 90% aviation general. And so if you are not experienced in what a manned aircraft pilot would know, or just in general aviation knowledge, then it's going to be hard for you to pass the exam. The reason it is aviation general information on the exam is because drone pilots share the skies with manned aircraft, with SOBs, souls on board. And so the FAA requires drone pilots to know a lot more akin to what a manned aircraft pilot knows. And so it's not just, well, I know how to fly a drone and I know I can only fly a certain amount. There's more to it than that. And that's what TCB Drones Academy brings to the table, to help prepare you for that with specific questions and answers. And it's always great to, a lot of people try to study for the Part 107 alone, or they look at a video full of information that you don't know. And so now you're more confused because you didn't know that to begin with. So having a coach and a training partner to help bounce things off of, to ask questions and get real-time feedback, and working with other people is a plus. And so that's why it is important for this cohort, for people who qualify to be involved. So what can you how if someone wants to know, Lynnetta, how to be involved, is it a deadline on getting signed up, enrolled in your cohort? How can they find out how to make that happen?
Today is the last,
Oh,
because we started the cohort March 9th, because there's multiple pieces to this cohort. Because
mhm,
there's also we partnered with another company called Desire Hires, and they have we created an assessment tool with them, that they had it already, and it's just a few little tweaks where one of the first questions I always get with military people when they're getting ready to transition, or they have already transitioned, is like, or the answer I get is like, what do you want to do? And they're like, I don't know. I
right,
hear that all the time, too many times. So I partner with another lady who is awesome, just like yourself. And there is a assessment tool that they're going to take on day one, March the 9th, that's when Prosper kicks off, March the 9th, which is why today is the last day for them to get involved, because there's so many moving pieces. And based on a series of questions on how they answer it, we have it, it's aligned to the Department of Labor and the ONET codes, and it produces certain jobs that are personalized based on you. So it would give them a roadmap. So when they say they don't know what they want to do, or they may start to think that they have to go back into a position that they did in the military, which
right.
they might not need to go into, which could be full of trauma. right? From
Mhm.
some, and a lot of times I see a lot of people do that. I was a police officer in the military. I'm gonna be a police officer when I get out. I was a pilot in there, but then never tackling the healing part, the trauma associated with those career pathways. So not doing the work too. So you're just going from one pot to another pot, and then somebody's got to deal with this. Is with this usually the families. So divorce rates are higher then when the transition out. Abuse rates are up then. So many different things people don't even think about when people don't do their work or they go back into the same trauma field career because they don't know. Because I tell people a lot of time, are you the same person that you were when you were 17, 18 years old? And I would hope you would say at this stage of your life, no,
It
because
looks like you
I'm not
froze.
the same person, right?
Right.
Did we freeze up? Did we freeze
No,
up?
you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
Good.
Because I tell people, but a lot of times these soldiers, airmen, soldiers, service members, their ASVAB scores have kept them captive on their resume. So not unless they reclassed, or what they've usually done is just kept picking up rank. But they might not. They might have went and got some training, went to college, grew, but their resume isn't aligning with where they are in that stage of their life. And so for me, I'm like, we've not done a great job, I would say, as society to allowing them to grow when they get out of the military, because we're looking at their same resume. You was a cook today because that's how you scored, and now you need to be a cook tomorrow, or you know what I mean. So I'm just like, that's why I say, wait a minute, if I can give a roadmap as well as credentialing, as well as certificates, all of this stuff here, your diplomas, to an employer that is an industry partner of ours, and say, listen, their resume might not look like that, but couple all of this stuff together now give these people a shot. These are the same people you get tax credits for to hire them. These are the same people that you say you want them to be on your workplace because they're disciplined, they show up, but you might not necessarily give them the high paying wages because their resume doesn't align. But there are so many layers to them, and there were so many reasons why their resume didn't align, and they had to be in that same type position, and it just kept going. But they've grown. Or they might have wanted to grow and they don't know what they want to do when they get out because they don't know the other options. Somebody has literally popped their bubble and they're choking for oxygen, and that's why they struggle, because they don't even know the life that they live behind the gates. A lot of it doesn't fully transition out here. And I tell people, be careful when you want to hire them, because they are the one percenters, right? And there is a certain way that the military has trained them to do things. And a lot of your civilians, they don't like to do things like that. So there is a give and take on both sides that have to marry and change and have grace for one another. And so, which is another reason why we have equine horse therapy in our program
Okay.
for their PTSD healing too. We take them to Atlanta, to the Capitol. They meet with House of Representative and Senate leaders, because who make the best politician are our military people coming out. So they need access to the table. They need to have a mentor at that level. So based off, we have one of the baddest lobbyists in the state of Georgia with Georgia Matters, Matt Campbell, who has been lobbying for our organization for quite some time. I feel like almost the time we've been in existed, and he gives us complete access. And my Rolodex has grown because of that partnership and friendship, and we put them right in front of House of Representative leaders and senators, who many times we make sure that he finds the ones that are veterans,
Okay.
so that way they have someone who looks like them, who walked in the same shoes, has that same DD 214 that they've done, so they know that if they could do it, you can do it too. And then we take them to film studios. So we either go to like Trilliff Studio, we go to Assembly Studios. That's another access. Sometimes we take them to Atlanta Braves private tours too,
Hmm.
because some of them want to be journalists, some of them want to be go into sports medicine. But if you don't see yourself in these environments, you will think they're so far out of reach. And these are
Right.
things that you're not getting at a job fair. And so we have done the work, and we will continue to do the work to break the barriers and to give our veterans and our military spouses and our military youth access
Oh yes, my
to
goodness.
these environments. so they know that it's possible. But that was one thing that we didn't have. So that's what I did not see in my husband. We didn't see that, which is why we had to build it. And we built it with our two children who are now 16 and 10. And they are co-founders of our youth program within our organization as well.
There you go. Right on. So
Yeah.
one of the other things, and that is a great observation on your part, and we definitely appreciate that. I think one of the other things that goes along with everything that you just said is the structure. When military folks are transitioning and coming in civilian world, there's a very different structure that's in place. And so one of the difficulties that I experienced was going from military structure to civilian structure. And there isn't a translation between the two. It's very different. And where in the military, everything is written down. There's a standard operating procedures for everything, and everything is lined out. Where when you get into the civilian world, a lot of times they're just doing the things that work. There is a suggestion of what should be done, and then there's an actual implementation of doing it. So that's why a lot of people say when you go to school, the application is different. And in the military, it is that exact same thing. We have a very specific way of handling, taking care of, and doing the documentation. And then when we transition into the civilian world, that system is not the same. And it's not saying that there isn't a system, but the transition to understanding the civilian system is very different than the system that we worked in for 20 plus years. And now in our mind, we have to do that mental gymnastics to understand this new system. And I think one of the other things that we're not taught in the military is having a goal for ourselves outside of the job that we're performing for the armed services, because it's so mission specific that we have to focus and be concentrated. Because oftentimes, like myself, I was in combat arms. I was training for going to war and making the ultimate sacrifice. And so my mission essential task list was, how do I keep myself alive? How do I keep my soldiers alive? And how do I keep my equipment up? And so transitioning into civilian life, it was completely different 365 in my mental process of how to coordinate my skill set so that it would be effective and I can communicate with people, because now I just can't tell somebody what to do. I have to work with them. I have to have an emotional quotient so that I could meet them where they're at, and I can keep my mouth shut and listen actively. And the communication is not just talking about, but listening and then hearing what it is they're saying, so then I can apply what it is that they've told me, so that it will be a mutual benefit. So in that, and this is my skill set, this is what I do. So part of my transition was realizing and understanding that my skill set and what I did very well in the military didn't have direct application, but I had to change some things in me. It took me many, many years to get to a place where I could write down a plan and say, what is it going to be beneficial for myself, my family, and then my business? And how am I going to support? Not what I'm going to enrich myself, but how am I going to be an asset to someone else so that then it could benefit me? And that was a complete turn, because I'm hard charging. I'm want to go and charge the hill and take over and do all that kind of stuff. But who do I leave behind? And one of the things that I learned way back when I was doing network marketing, you have to follow me. I'm right behind you. That is a servant leadership principle, because where two or more are gathered, and that's the reason why Stephanie's program is so important, because when you have more than two people who are coming together to learn something new, it makes it that much easier, because now you have kindred spirits. You have somebody that has a shared observation and shared direction that they're going, and they can drag you along with them, or you can drag them. And so you know that you're not in it by yourself. And what we call it in the military was a buddy system. You can do it by yourself. The military has trained you to be self-sufficient, but it's so much easier when you have somebody that is your accountability partner, and you can plug into a system where it could move you along the trajectory that you didn't think was possible or that was doable. And it will expose you to things that you have not even thought about before. And as we're having this dialogue and these conversations, we start to reflect on our experiences when we were in the service and the trauma that Lynette was talking about, because that's real. Trauma is definitely, and I'm a witness to it. I take the medication. But how do we continue to function as well as try to overcome the hurdles, the barriers, and the trials and tribulations that come along with it? Because just because we're going through doesn't mean that we have to stop. We have to keep pushing through. We have to proverbially put one boot in front of the other and keep moving, because the mission still has to be accomplished. We just have to choose what that mission is. I've chosen for that mission to be service to my community. And so that's the reason why we're supporting Steffanie so mightily and making the attempt. And I'll let everybody know I'm a cancer survivor. I had stage 3 prostate cancer, had surgery about 6 weeks ago. And I'm in it. I'm in it to win. And I want to let every young man who's over the age of 45 go get your PSAs checked, because it is a silent killer. It would have gotten me if I wouldn't have been in the military and would have had my annual checkups. My PSAs were high over the last 3 years, and my doctor said, you know what, you've done your MRIs and everything looks clear except for a little bit of firmness, but you can wait. You can wait 6 months. And I said, well, is that 100%? He said, well, no, it's not 100%, but you're young, you should be fine. I elected to get the biopsy. 7 of my 14 markers came back as cancer. I had stage 3 cancer, no symptoms and no signs.
Wow.
And so it was just the Most High saying, don't take the little bit as being okay. 100%. Be 100% sure. And then when I came back to my doctor, he said, hey, so what do you think you're at? And I said, well, stage 1. He's like, go up. I said, stage 2. He said, you might want to go a little higher. And I said, well, doc, what would you do? He said, and this is what changed my perspective, because doctors are supposed to be impartial. But my doc said, if you were my son, if you were in my family, I would throw you over my shoulder, I would take you to our surgeon, and I would force you to get the surgery. And I said, yes, I'm getting surgery. Because when people inject you into their lives, that's the Most High saying, pay attention to what's going on around you. And I think that a lot of times we take that for granted, that we're getting signs and wonders all the time. But because we come from a very rigid system, that we feel that we are fully responsible for our advocacy or our breakthroughs. And sometimes we have to just let go, be observant. So just like this opportunity is being presented, just because it's closing today, and I want to let everybody know that's out there, just because it might be closing today doesn't mean that the opportunity is closing. Still continue to do the research, reach out, because this opportunity is not available for very long, but it's still available. And if you reach out and you call Lynnetta and you say, hey, I wasn't able to get in today, but what else is available? If you show that little bit of engagement, there's a whole world that's going to open up for you. And so you don't have to be so hard on yourself, because that's the role that you had to play in the military. Ask for just a little bit of help. And you have 3 people who are on this video taking our own time to advocate for you that it is possible for you to do. We are shining examples of it working, but it's not easy. And you do have to step outside of yourself and ask for just a little bit of help. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. And we'll open it up for you, because we've traversed and we've gone through those hard trials and tribulations, and hopefully the experiences that we've had, we can prevent that from happening with you, and your experience can be very different from what we've experienced. That's my 2 cents, and I'm gonna leave it alone.
That's good. That was a good 2 cents.
I want to speak to so many things that you said, Russell. One, that you were at stage 3, and there's only 4 stages, right?
There's only 4. You can only get 4.
And so I'm so glad that you were able to catch it before you got to stage 4. And one of the things that I always, when I'm looking for a recommendation and from someone for a business, if I'm trying to do business, I ask them, if I was your sister, would you want me to do this or not do this? And so when you said that your doctor said, if you were my son, that is kind of because we give out, recommendations, or we say this, that, but we forget that people, that the person is somebody's mother, sister,
Yes.
wife, brother. And so I always try to treat people the way I would want someone to treat my mother or brother. And so that spoke to me when you said that. Another thing is team members. Although you refer to the buddy system as somebody who might be in the military with you, our spouse or our partner is an integral part of helping us to be free of mind and free of our time to move forward and do certain things. And then sometimes, we don't look at it like that because, Lynnetta, you said that once people, sometimes when they separate from the military, the divorce rate goes up. And that's one of the spouses or partners. That's one of you also offer services to them. So speak to us a little bit about that and how having a supportive partner is important, and what services do you offer to them?
That's a great segue.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, right? Because if you have just looked at our situation, I think at that time I might have been a GS-13 at that time. It looked like I was living my best life. But I always tell people, if one of us is off in our family, all of us is off. And that was the head. The head was off, right? So I couldn't leave like bewildered, not.
Oh, her signal went out. So hopefully she'll try to. Oh, it says she has just joined. Let me go back and find her.
No problem.
Okay, there I go.
All right, you're back.
I'm gonna just jump right back in really quick. I just wanted to say, like, it from the optics. That's why I tell people, listen, occupation is how you eat. Vocation is your calling, right? Two different things. And I think sometimes people put so much emphasis on these jobs that can go away, but it's the family is the nucleus, is the core, and we got to make sure that we are okay. My grandpa used to say something. I'm from North Carolina, born and raised. He used to say, you keep the inside in and the outside out. And when I saw that my husband, who had never struggled we'll be married this year, 25 years, I had never seen her struggle, but I wouldn't even have, thank you, I wouldn't have my military federal career without him. So here now, I don't even have that anymore because he's tagged me out, because now he's done his work healing and is an author and all that things now. So I want to encourage other military spouses to also be able to be equipped. It's one thing to have the children, have the families, all the things like that, but don't lose yourself, don't lose your identity, but also have a way that you can have flexibility. And I think that this is an occupation that they can do that. They can have the kids, they can have the husband, they can have the identity, they can be all the things, but they can have the flexibility to also have a family business where they can bring their children and have generational wealth inside of creating a family business inside of here, which is why I could not leave my military spouses, whether that's a man or a woman, behind, because I couldn't do that to my husband. And if I had did that to him when it was time for me to tag out after 20 years in the federal government, when I had just had enough, I had met my capacity in that level, and I wanted to do this organization that we have built together from the ground up, which will be 7 years old, March 19th coming up. I wouldn't have had the ability to do that if I had left him behind. We probably would have been divorced by now. Our children, who are doing great things. Our daughter was the top 5 military child of the year for the entire Army. She's the
Wow.
vice president of the National Honor Society here, getting ready to go compete next week in a host of competition in Atlanta for the state for her school. And our 4th grader just got inducted in Beta Cub and gifted program. That's a 2-parent household. We also have a literacy cause in our organization too that they help us do, because we believe that literacy starts at home, because it's your identity tied in there. And I always tell people, my daddy gave me my identity because he gave me his name.
Right.
So I tell people, I love, we love my mama. She carried me all the thing, but I was like, I'm a daddy's girl. My dad passed away too. But the way I can conduct myself, carry myself, he gave me the belief that I could do anything but fail. And so I knew that if we kept the family together, we had to get the spouse. We had to make sure that there was a place for them too. So this is our first time, August, September, October, to be able to push this for the spouses, which I'm on fire excited about, because I know what was offered to me in my pathway. And a lot of that is coming from my spouse too. And I tell people, like, don't settle. Don't settle.
One of the things I find is very interesting is that we're talking about a career change and opportunity, and family comes in. So it's just that important that families are the nucleus. And I think that one of the things that we lose, especially the military, um, as military members and military spouses, is that as we make the transition, and I learned this very late, that running your family is like running a business. And the communication is so vitally important in you trying to establish a business for yourself. You talk to your troops all the time, you talk to your leadership, but then we advocate that, especially as Black soldiers, Black male soldiers. We advocate that when we come home. And I think a lot of that comes from our upbringing and our training, because we have very strong uh, maternal figures. Um, but that's not what they're looking for. And if, as we're talking about these things, and this is not the forum, but there's definitely a place where the relationships and family is so vitally important, because where two are gathered and where you have a partnership for moving forward after your transition, it may have been difficult when you were in the service, but it becomes a completely different animal when you get out. And now you have to lean on and rely upon that person when you're in service, and the roles get blurred, because
Hmm.
now you don't have a very straightforward trajectory that you know that you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you go in for PT, you work, you train, you come home, you eat, and you go to bed. When you get out, it's completely flipped on its head. And so now you have a whole lot more time to think about where you're at and ponder what it is you're going to do. And then your partner is looking at you going, so what are we doing? And now it becomes,
Hmm.
the weight becomes so much heavier, because now you have the added pressure of trying to decipher what it is that you're supposed to be doing for yourself, and what it is that you're supposed to be providing some guidance to, and your spouse doesn't want to jump in. They're ready, but they want for you to lead. And if you have been that person that's kind of like, well, I'm just working a job and you run the house, when you transition, you are now in a position where you have to make that transition to leadership in your own home, in your own business. Whereas you were leading at work, you're now leading in the home. And that can be a very traumatic change, because it's a mindset, because there's no
Hmm.
rules, as we had talked about before. And your spouse, she wants to jump in and she's waiting. And then there can be some animosity, because you're thinking that, well, why can't she just do it? And she's thinking, well, I just need a little indication of what you want for me to do. So not trying to get out of alignment with the relationship, but as Black soldiers, as Black husbands, we get out of alignment because we're just thinking, well, why don't you you've been doing it. Why don't you go ahead and do it? And my wife was like, well, I could do it, but I want for you to have advocacy. I have an understanding of where your feelings and all those things you might not want to recognize. I understand where your role is, and I want for you to maintain that. And as a young husband I was once before, I couldn't get over, well, why don't you just do it? Because she wanted for me to demonstrate my authority in the home as I was demonstrating my authority at work. And sometimes those lines get blurred and we get tired as service members. But when you transition out, you no longer have the excuse that, well, I was working all day and dealing with folks all day. You only have you, her, and the little people that you created. They're the only people you have responsibility to. And we have to, and if nobody's telling you this, I'm telling you this now. As the head of the house, it is placing ourselves in a very different mindset to be accountable to our partner, because our wives and our spouses and our partners are not just legally, but relationally our accountantship partners. They make sure that we're accountable for stuff. When we say we want to do something, they say, okay, you said you want to do this, you said you want to do this, and you said you want to do these other things. Where are we? And that takes communication and having to get out of our own comfort zone to say, hey, I'm going to sit down with you at 8 o'clock in the morning as we have breakfast, and I'm going to focus time on talking about what my idea is. And if that time is talking about, I don't know what it is that I need to do, I'm asking for some input so that I can then make a decision about what we're going to do cooperatively and corporately, because realistically, your family is your first business. Before you go and do anything else, before you get a drone pilot's license, before you start up your own LLC, and I think that's very important, you want to establish your family business first. You are the president. Your wife is the CEO, and I'm oversimplifying it, but you're the president. You don't make any money in your business. The CEO works every day making sure the daily tasks are taken care of, and then you figure out how you're going to make money in your family business. But you're providing the leadership and the guidance and all those things, but then you also have to fall in line so that you're actually doing work in your business. So you just can't lead from the front. It's follow me, I'm right behind you. Follow me, I'm right behind you. Because when you go someplace and you ask somebody who is a leader, it's not the person that's standing on the soapbox. It's that quiet person that's standing in the corner watching and making sure everything is okay, that everybody else points to. That's truly the leader of that gathering. When everybody else says that's the person who's leading us, when you're the leader, people are choosing to follow you. That's what makes you the leader, not because you wear the pants in the house, but because you make all the money. And we get that crossed up too. This is the 107 license, being a drone pilot. It is a tremendous opportunity. There's a lot of money to be made. But have an understanding that just because you're making all the money does not advocate you from being responsible in your own household. And that is a transition. That's a mindset shift. And it's a whole nother thing that we can talk about. I'm gonna get off my soapbox because I'm excited now.
Me too.
I wanted to make sure that we had those transitional things in this conversation as well, because the family is very important to setting up the business and going out here on this limb and getting the certification that Steffanie is providing the training for, and that Lynnette is providing that opportunity so we can do that networking. That's the biggest thing. Networking and training together, meet the opportunity, that equals success.
So I'm just reading the comments. Edmund Davis, Professor Davis out of Little Rock, Arkansas, said the dialogue is essential. Thanks for that, Professor Davis. So just wanted to, as we're going full circle, we see people passing us, or we see them, we might have a passing conversation, not realizing all that is going on behind the scenes in their lives. And that is important for us to realize, is that there's a lot, everything is, most things, 99% of things are not face value. There's a whole lot going on behind the scenes.
Mhm.
And so our efforts as we collaborate are to streamline some of those things to help people transitioning from the military life into civilian life to be more technology savvy and to take advantage of the many opportunities that are abound. And so that's what we're here to do. And as we've said, if you might not be able to be a part of this current cohort, but that doesn't mean the opportunity goes away, because there are future cohorts. And we certainly want to make this one of many where we come to Savannah and put on the live drone pilot prep course and workshop to give you practical experience as well as the prep work so you can pass the part 107 exam. And so are the closing remarks that anyone wants to make? How they can locate you is most important. And Russell, if they want to find out more about what you're doing in Florida, give us some closing remarks on how people can find you.
Closing remarks. I'll start. You can reach me at Russell S. That's RUSSELL, the letter S, at AIphotos.com. Just send me an email and I'll follow up with you, see if we can continue this conversation. If we can help you in any way that we can, we're here to help you.
All righty. Thanks for that, Lynnetta.
No, I just wanted to thank you both for taking time out of your day to actually do this, but also to be able to travel. Russell, I know you might not be the one here, but I'm praying that you are. Your schedule aligned.
Lynnette, I'm gonna make a promise, and I'm gonna join you. I'll be there in Savannah.
Yes, I was like, this energy between the three of us. I'm a energy person. I tell people that all the time. Spiritual is like I can feel it when it lines up. It's supposed to be right. God, He doesn't make any mistakes. I always know that when it's right, it's right. And this is just a first, right, for this seed funding that came for here, but the expansion is what is going to just run rampant through our community, which we're going to open it up wide to the entire community. So this is just a first, like he said, so we can gather some data to be able to back it up, especially like when you're the first doing some things. Steffanie, I know you could attest to this too. A lot of times we already showed United Way the data of why it's important. And for us to be a nonprofit, to be able to write grants to this is going to be a game changer, but also to be able to turn it into doing different things for Georgia WorkSource, to be able to expand in that way, to be able to turn it into a full training program, to open it up to regular civilians, so we can have the funding to partner, to bring you all back, to to maybe the whole goal is to do at least one class a month. So this is here, which is why too it is to let's see how we can do this here. Sometimes the control environment is needed first, so we can see what it's all about. But you guys, you can reach me at info at C as in Charlie, B as in boy, the number 2 TB.com, or www.cb the number 2 TB.com, which is combat boots to the boardroom.com, because we believe that everybody's combat boots is going to transition into someone's boardroom, whether that's white collar, blue collar, or your collar as an entrepreneur.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And we do look forward to seeing both of you in Savannah in April. And we'll do, this seems like more of a conversation that we need to have. So we probably will schedule another podcast so that we can continue the conversation, because there's like so much more we could have hit on. So thank you guys again. And then I'll close out, and we look forward to seeing you. So we want to thank you again for joining the conversation. I'm Steffanie Rivers, CEO and founder of TCB Drones, based in Dallas, Texas. And as we're saying, we are not only training individuals with drone lessons and how to prepare for the Part 107. We also are doing workforce development programs in our, we're going to Savannah, Georgia in April to work with Combat Boots to the Boardroom and Lanetta Smith. And so if you find yourself in the position where you are a military veteran, we want to say thank you for your service. We also want for you to be able to participate. So you can reach out to me. I can forward your information, or you can reach out to Lynnetta Smith in Savannah, Georgia at Combat Boots to the Boardroom, and we can get you on your way. So yeah, that's it. We know there's a lot of opportunity and people looking for transitions into where those opportunities are. And this is for, we work with non-tech savvy people who want to gain their skills in a tech savvy world. And that's what we're doing. So to find out more about this, you can reach us through social platforms. We're at TCB Drones. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, or you can email us at info@tcbdrones.com. Thank you so much and have a super day.